Conscious Media Network has been asked to release the following statement regarding the introduction of a new world economic structure. The statement is being delivered by a layperson who is serving as a go-between for a global consortium of highly placed individuals in government and finance. The statement itself has been drawn up by a man who simply refers to himself as a functionary and specialist in transitional banking, a participant in the process, but not at the top tier. He has stated, however, that he does speak on behalf of the collective. CMN can offer no further validation for the authenticity of these statements. We are simply serving as an initial media outlet by request, as those involved do not wish to participate with mainstream media for the introduction of this information. Please feel free to circulate this video as feels appropriate. James, this is a very exciting time, and the information you're going to bring today is, I think, offers great hope at a time when people are desperate to find hope in anything. So many lives have been crushed. We've been made over the decades to feel powerless. And you have been working behind the scenes for really decades now. And your radio show has done a tremendous job of informing people as to the scam that is the banking system. And now we're going to go much deeper into something. And this is to be the formal release of this information. I've talked to your chief source, who is a very meted, intelligent, conservative individual, who has validated that you have permission to read this to the public now. And he said to be assured that people at the very, very highest levels of government throughout the world are behind this. And as quietly as we're doing this, this is important stuff. Is there anything you want to say to set this up?
I know this is probably an unusual way to do this, but it's been thought out quite well to do it this way. I didn't actually know that I was going to do it with you guys until your name came up in a conversation, and we're figuring out the best way to deliver the good news. Of course, it's going to come out on my broadcast as well, but it was decided that it should come out in this way, in the best light. Because at the end of the day, this is supposed to be the kind of medicine for the planet, financially, and in a whole bunch of other ways too. So I figured this would be certainly the best way to do it. I would preface this by saying that if a person that's watching this, seeing it for the first time, they're going to hear information that is going to be new, provocative to them, and it's going to have to, people are going to have to adjust and realize that there are good people in the world that are trying to fix the system that has failed and prop up and create a better world for everybody. And this project's probably been worked on for many, many years. I was contacted quietly behind the scenes, even though I knew that I would be contacted eventually because of the content that I was talking about on air regarding the structure of money, what happens when money is digitized, electrical currency, perception, the nature of news, all the media ecological ramifications of perception of media and finance, and the future on how we're all going to move ahead. That's basically what I would preface it by. So when I read this statement, it's been discussed prior to. It's not a random thing. It'll be followed up probably by details further down the road.
In another few weeks even from the date we're sitting here, which is the middle of December. This information will be released and people will begin hearing it January 1st. And then within the few weeks following that is going to be a great amount of detail that will be released regarding this. So in that sense, as you've told me off camera, it may sound just highly theoretical, conceptual, and maybe even conceptual, and maybe even a little bit vague, and that's because until these final pieces are in place, the details will not be supplied.
And the reason why we decided to do it, it was almost a spur of the moment thing, because I felt, because of what's going on and being reported in the news, that we're at a critical stage for the entire human race, as a lot of people are talking openly about nuclear war with Iran, murder, death, kill, everything, every channel, everywhere. You've got anxiety in the streets, you've got homelessness, and there needs to be some light put into place.
And also we're talking about every day news reports about the collapse of the potential collapse of the euro that was supposed to have been imminent even a few days ago.
Correct, right.
Right.
So that's another reason why I think that 2012 should be initiated with some hope and some good things. Good people are out there, as well as all that other stuff that we've all been told. Good things are happening, and I'm looking forward to being able to share with everybody the upcoming great news.
And this is not false hope from everything that although you've read hundreds of documents, you've talked to players from different quarters in this.
Yeah.
And so far you're not seeing that this is hype, nor
no,
is
initially
false.
when I was contacted, the first interview I did was about the mechanism of debt and the psychology of debt and how people get themselves into positions where they end up working for somebody and they don't even know how it happened. This is, and I haven't talked to you for a long time on camera. Since I've been on the radio, I've been trying to empower people to liberate themselves and get themselves back into a position of power to be able to handle the upcoming changes that are massive, that are going to happen for the whole human race.
And you were aware of this when you started the radio program to help people on a very personal level free themselves.
Yeah, that was the whole point. The debt itself, that was irrelevant, because that can a lot of people have been able to get rid of debt. I mean, you get through bankruptcy, everybody knows about that, and you can do it many different ways, but that's not the point. The point is, how did you get that way? And I discovered that most people never even read the contract and don't know anything about money at all, or zero. So I had to basically reframe a person's concept, identity, everything for long periods of time over the radio so they can understand, to be in a position to go to the next step.
And take back their power.
And take back their power. And this is one of the ways that it's going to happen.
And from everything that I'm hearing, including talking to your contact, this has deeply spiritual ramifications to it. This isn't just about economy.
No, it's way past that.
Yeah.
I think, and as I was saying before, because of the nature of where we're at internationally, international tension, the potential war starting. I mean, I listen to the radio and turn on the TV. I can't do it. I can't really do it. I can't handle watching it and participating in it at all because of all the threats and so forth. And it's like, do human beings, are we going to get out of our limbic system? Are we going to self-destruct? Are we going to get along with each other? Are we going to bypass? I mean, the last big spiritual transformation, I feel, in America was the civil rights movement with the kings and the blacks getting their civil rights, and for everybody. That's a big message that's still going on today. That was the last big one. This is the next one. This is a huge one, because this is going to change forever who has what and how it's going to be handled, and a whole bunch of different parameters. So I think it's great news, and it's, at the end of the day, it is the spiritual transformation of just human beings in general, whatever religion you are.
And one comment that struck me as I was speaking to your contact was, and I put it down in quotes.
Right.
And I think it's important as we listen to this. I have not heard your statement yet.
Right.
That he said, the usual suspects are not the suspects.
Okay, that means that people that were on the dark side have now transcended that position and realized that we can't do that anymore. It's like the Star Wars movie. Vader went to the other side. Well, there's a lot of people that have done that.
Well, because they know it's unsustainable and they're going to self-destruct. So there's not like there was a choice. It's
That's
not like they may have raised
That's
their hand for this, but they've seen that there is no other option than
and
transformation.
And I've lived that for many years, because I've had people that have been attorneys, collection agencies, people that have take and collect, and they've heard me, and then they've gone to the other side completely, totally, because they knew they came to a position inside themselves where that just isn't going to work anymore for them or anybody else. So I know that's happening right now all over the world.
Okay. So shall we? Would you like to read this now?
Okay, I will read this verbatim as discussed. It's got quotes from other resources as references, but this is how it has been decided to be put. So, neither banks nor public authorities, or mainstream academics for that matter, calculate the economy's realistic ability to pay, that is, to pay without shrinking the economy. Through their media and think tanks, they have convinced populations that the way to get rich most rapidly is to borrow money to buy real estate, stocks, and bonds rising in price, being inflated by bank credit, and to reverse the past century's progressive taxation of wealth. To put matters bluntly, the results has been junk economics. Its aim is to disable public checks and balances, shifting planning power into the hands of high finance on the claim that this is more efficient than public regulation. Government planning and taxation is accused of being, quote, the road to serfdom, and as if, quote, free markets controlled by bankers given leeway to act recklessly and not planned by special interests in ways that are oligarchic and not democratic. Governments are told to pay bailout debts taken on not to defend countries in military warfare as in times past, but to benefit the wealthiest layer of the population by shifting its losses on taxpayers. The failure to take the wishes of voters into consideration leaves the resulting national debts on shaky ground, politically and even legally. Debts imposed by fiat, by governments or foreign financial agencies in the face of strong popular opposition may be as tenuous as those of the Habsburgs and other despots in past times. Lacking popular validation, they may die with the regime that contracted them. New governments may act democratically to subordinate the banking and financial sector to serve the economy, not the other way around. Now that's a quote from Michael Hudson, a former Wall Street economist, and it goes on to say, in continuing, voluminous media reports of ongoing global economic carnage may lead one to take the view that our world does not understand the fundamentals of economics that ancient world leaders such as Hammurabi, Egyptian pharaohs, and even Roman emperors knew very well. The truth is quite simply that debt-based economies, money as debt with all its intrinsic inequality and poverty, is eternally fated for destruction. Ancient despots were anything but humanitarians. Like all despots throughout history, they were driven by self-interest, but did they realize at least that a fair economic system is in everyone's best interest? Given our dire economic circumstances, it is forgivable that we little people despair wiring our hands. The prevailing view of little people is that we are powerless to effect great change. We may feel that we have awoken only enough time to spectate as world leaders stare uncomprehensively and yet another inevitable global collapse. It is not that world leaders or financial leaders and economists too numerous to even mention have failed to notice the collapse of the current financial system. In this regard, refer to the comments of Sir Mervyn King, Governor of the Bank of England, and the comments of Stephen Green, HSBC Chairman, and the comments of the Pope, and the very recent comments of President Barack Obama, plus many others. All of these views are from the unique perspective of each individual, but there is a common thread. The comments of Stephen Green are of particular interest. Mr. Green remarks that Milton Friedman was completely wrong. Profit only dash, nothing else matters, but Mr. Green is still compelled to support free market economies. He quotes Sir Winston Churchill, who famously stated, "The market is the worst system of economic and social development, except for all others that have been tried from time to time." So the thought is that although free market capitalism is the very worst system, nothing else works either. Socialism, capitalism, communism all fail. There are no credible working isms then at all. Churchill's comments should be acknowledged by all of us. So what can we do? Can we only create more debt and accelerate the decline? Are we all governments, little individuals, and institutions powerless? It is an institution for the purpose of providing benevolence for all of humanity, regardless of color, worldview, or place on earth. All of this without the creation of debt and without causing harm to interests of others, no matter if they are great or small. All this is known today only by a handful of people throughout the world, and nevertheless exists within a mighty and powerful new system that has been created and managed by little people. It has already begun with little people. Little people are the most powerful force on earth. Mervyn King, Governor of Bank of England, states, "All of the many ways of organizing banking, the worst is the one we have today." And that was a link taken from a website called Positive Money. And there's another excerpt from Stephen Green here as well. American free market economics guru Milton Friedman was wrong to assert that companies should focus on shareholder value above all other considerations. HSBC Chairman Stephen Green declared, "Now, just as there was in Teddy Roosevelt's time, there is a certain crowd in Washington who, for the last few decades, have said, let's respond to the economic challenge with the same old tune. Quote, the market will take care of everything, they tell us. If we just cut more regulations and cut more taxes, especially for the wealthy, our economy will grow stronger. Sure, they say there will be winners and losers, but if the winners do really well, then jobs and prosperity will eventually trickle down to everybody else. And, they argue, even if prosperity doesn't trickle down, well, that's the price of liberty." Now, it's a simple theory, and we have to admit that it's one that speaks to our rugged individualism and our healthy skepticism of too much government. That's in America's DNA. And that theory fits well on a bumper sticker, but here's the problem. It doesn't work. It has never worked. It didn't work when it was tried in the decade before the Great Depression. It's not what led to the incredible post-war booms of the 50s and 60s. And it didn't work when we tried it during the last decade. I mean, I understand it's not as if we haven't tried this theory before. And then it was a link of a speech, and it goes on to say, and this is a link from concerning what the Pope had to say. The economy needs ethics in order to function correctly, not any ethics, but an ethics which is people-centered. Above all, the intention to do good must not be considered incompatible with the effective capacity to produce goods. The Associated Press quotes him saying, "Financiers must rediscover the generally ethical foundation of their activities so as to not abuse the sophisticated instruments which can serve to portray the interest of savers." So basically, that statement was put together to preempt the world of the new banking system, which is unlike anything they've dealt with before, and will be run by people like you and I. The public will have more power than they ever have before. So this is a big liberation for the whole human race, family as a whole.
Of course, the first thing that will come up for people who are looking at this with a skeptical eye toward this will be, it sounds like a new world order you're speaking of, and it sounds like a global currency, which indeed is at the basis of this from what I understand.
Yep. That would be the reflex response, I would say.
Yes.
And that reflex response is, people walking backwards into their future. People are going to have to examine with different eyes and ears, because this is just the beginning of this, and it will cancel debt, shall we say. It will deal with that problem, as I've dealt with it personally before with clients all over the place. It will be dealt with in a different way.
And this is on a large scale.
On a large scale, yeah, exactly.
And I want to put a little a context to all this in terms of where we're sitting as well at this moment, where we're literally doing this interview, and some background. And that is, we're right now in the home of Sheila and Marcus. Sheila is the one who channels the Theo group. And the Theo group, I asked them last year about some of these exact questions. And Sheila brought the passage out this morning. They told whoever was asking the questions at the time, now 25 years ago, that between 2012 and 2015 this very thing would be happening. Right. And not to be afraid of this. And when I asked that same group about it, and we're talking spiritual realms now, last year they said, do you understand that this will come to pass, this new world order and this one world currency will come to pass, but not with the same mentality that
Right.
created the fear of it from the old paradigm. This is an entirely new paradigm of human behavior and function.
I totally agree.
And that is what the people that are creating this system have agreed to, and what it's being inspired by understanding the human species is on a dead-end path.
Correct. Right. Synchronistic, isn't it?
Yes. And so it's my understanding that if there are players who have been in the banking industries, in the governments, who are usurious and corrupt in spirit, who have not been able to see the value in dissolution of the old way to make way for the new, that those players will no longer be potent.
Correct. Or they will join us.
Yes, if they're not,
Right.
I'm saying if
Right.
they're not,
Yeah.
they're going to be sidelined.
Right.
So this is going in direct, this is going head to head, this message, with the increasing messages on alternative media that we're in trouble, we're headed for deep conflicts within. Now, that's not to say there are not going to be conflicts within this, because there are players who are still holding out against this, right? From your
Yes.
understanding.
Sure. It's everybody's tried to stop smoking. They know they can do it, but it's a hard process when they start doing it. It's like, like struggle. But they do it. So it can be done, and change is inevitable. So I'm quite optimistic. So.
And yes, it sounds like there is reason to be. And from my understanding, if these interests, which involve people at high positions in 130 countries that have authorized this man writing this and you're saying this and announcing this,
Right.
if this is accurate, they are saying that there is a transitional kind of system that's been put in place, because they're not looking for a total destruction. However, they do understand that there are going to be bumps as well.
Oh, of course.
This is
Right. You change the,
They're changing the entire
foundation of the house. There's going to be some
Yes.
construction moving around.
Yes.
Again, you can't sleep over there right now. Yeah, it's going to be a little. Yes, of course.
And everyone's
Of course.
expecting the worst already. Everyone watching this is already expecting the worst.
Right.
So what I
Exactly.
guess what they're saying is there will be bumps, but have no fear. You're going to come out individually in so much stronger a position
Right.
in your own life, your own ability to manifest.
Right.
The relinquishing of fear surrounding money, all of that is going to be seriously impacted by this.
Correct. There's light at the end of the tunnel.
And that's the spiritual implication.
Correct.
We're now feeling as though we're in bondage to systems we have no control over.
Right. That's not true. There's just because you believe it doesn't mean it's true. There's a bunch of things out there. The world isn't how everybody perceives it to be through the television environments and radio environments and so forth. So.
And I have to say, through some of the intuitive sources that I have known of and had contact with, the Theo Group being one, and a couple of others who I have deep respect for over the last few decades, they've all pointed to the exact same thing. We're going to go through a genuine paradigm shift of thinking, and
Yeah.
we're going to the next level.
Right.
Human 2.0, if you want to call it.
Sure, exactly.
And whether you're doing it
We're due.
kicking and
We're due.
screaming,
Right, exactly.
we're going there.
Right, exactly. That's a good point. Are you going to ascend or not?